All right, so now we're going to go over the Gentoo. Now this is my tractor, and it's a TLB tractor, tractor loader backhoe. That's what that stands for. Some people don't always understand that, which just to try to understand some of the terminology. So this has some differences between a standard. This is based off of a 2370-1. This is actually a BX 25D-1 model. So it's the last of the tractor loader backhoes in the 70 series before it got replaced by now the 23S. So you go on the website and you'll see Generation 2. Now right now I would say that there's probably more Generation 2 tractors out there than any other generation, because it seems like and the first model of the Gen 2 was the 2350 series, and that's when they went to this styling. I mean, a 2350 and a 2370 virtually looked the same. Most people wouldn't pick out the differences, but the 2350, the big difference between a 50 series is they had plastic hood and plastic fenders. Kubota kind of played around in that and dabbled in it for that one series, and then they went on the 60 series, they went back to steel hood, steel fenders. They just didn't have a lot of luck with it. A lot of paint fade problems, a lot of cracking. If they got left outside, the sun would just, you know, fade the paint, and then the hood would get brittle, something land on it, and then bang, break. So there's a few differences on this versus a 2370 series is what this was. But that's what this tractor started out its life as. 2350 started this series. This was the introduction of the curved boom loader, which would be your 240 or your 244 loaders. There's no difference between a 240 and a 240 loader other than the fact the decal is different. For some reason on a TLB tractor like this, they're a 240 model, and then on a non-TLB, they're a 243. So they have a little bit of lift capacity difference somehow, somewhere, some way, but it is the same frame, the same everything. And one thing that Kubota did maintain the same, and we'll kind of point it out here quickly, is these points here. There's a center to center distance here that stayed the same, and a center to center distance from this pin to that pin that stayed the same. Yeah, this one's got a runny nose. It's dripping on my floor. So that translates to now you go to this loader. Yeah, it looks different, but it really, the parts that really matter are the same. This center to center distance on the arms is the same, and the center to center distance from that pin to that pin is the same. So that's why the quick attach will fit any of these models. And we'll get into that as on another video probably. But so there you've got, you can see the differences now that, and this boom, the curved boom loaders are, in my opinion, a sturdier loader. They're more of an arch shape. They're just beefier throughout this area. You've got more mass in this area as well, so it's just a sturdier loader. And that's one of the reasons why they upped the lift capacity, is because they did beef these loaders up a little bit. The kickstand mechanism and that's a term for the loader stand. We kind of call it the kickstand. You know, there's just one pin here in the center that drops down, and then this thing actually acts as a guard when it's up for these lines as well. So when the tractor's in use, this is a guard for the hydraulic lines that run below here. And that's the other thing, they tuck a lot of this in, and a lot of the lines are running in a spot where they're not exposed. They're very concealed, nice clean looking loader. And you can see here that this cylinder got beefed up too, so they do have more rollback capacity on these. And then if you did buy the backhoe version, it does come with the silver BX logoed brush guard, where the standard one will not have it. And if you buy you can buy the TLB version for a 2380, but if you just go and say I want a brush guard for a 2370 or whatever, it's orange, and they just have louvers like this all the way down. It won't have the BX in. So if you're going to buy one and you want that silver pretty one like that, make sure you tell me you want it for like a 25D or 25 or 24, whatever. They're all the same. And then when you get to the other big change is obviously they moved the hydraulic lever off the side of the dash now, and it stays on the tractor. So when you take the loader off, you've got your 4 outlets that stay down here that you have access to for other attachments, whatever you might have. If you've got the the front blade attachment that goes on there. So that's the blade blower or broom attachment that you get put on there. The other big change, and that on this to say this is a 2370-1 now. So if you've got an early 50, 60, and I think the original 70 series still had, or no, the 50 and 60 series still had the brake lever here. The 70 series, I believed, or this is when they moved it to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry, to the left, which I like a lot better, so you can actually run the hydro and the brake at the same time. The other change on the tractor loader backhoe package is you get the nicer seat. If you had a regular 2370, you would have more of the standard seat. This one's got the tilt and all that, and the armrests, and that's just one of the upgrades when you bought the backhoe version, because it actually picks up and of course rolls around. The roll bars are different on the backhoe packages because they're taller and wider, because you actually need to sit inside of them. So they do, instead of coming straight up like that one does, and those never came with collapsible roll bars either, but you can see they just came straight up and hooped over, and this one comes up, flares out, but it still will collapse down, but it kind of just comes out like this, so you can still have it on and it won't smack into this, so it limits how far back you can mount it. Say the controls were updated. They're all in the same position basically, but just the labeling and the styling has been upgraded. You know, they got a little nicer grab handles, just a little bit nicer control levers, but they're the same from side to side, in the same position, and they do the same function. Went to larger drink holder on the newer ones. You can see the fenders are slightly different from the Gen 1. The shaping and styling is a little bit more, those are a little bit more square. These have a little bit more fullness to them, if you want to call it. It's like on the 2360 series, I was saying, they went back to the steel hood and fenders and have stayed with that ever since. We've got our same controls down here with your 3-point, your flow adjustment here, your mower deck height, or 3-point adjustment here. I don't know if that works for the 3-point too. I should find out. I mean, this is for your mower deck, so you can set your cut height. Your diff lock lever got moved from up here to here now, because obviously you got a brake pedal right there. But yeah, overall, and then we'll look under the hood too. The look under the hood is very similar. The air cleaner got moved, so now it actually draws air in from up here instead of the other one that just kind of drew it in around the engine compartment. This one, it's kind of ducted, so it's pulling it in more of a cleaner area. And then you've got your screen here that pulls out, keep you from sucking grass into everything, and then plugging up your radiator as well. But these run the D902 motors. That's the model number, the 902, and they're 23 horse. But the lower section here, by the way, is still plastic, even on the new tractors. The hood up here is steel, but this shroud that goes around is plastic. Overall, I won't get into the tractor loader backhoe differences. I was kind of drawn to that a second ago, and I'm going to stay away as I go on and on. That's your basic. I mean, if you want to pan into the two, you can obviously see Gen 1, Gen 2, pretty drastic differences, headlight differences, just the overall styling of the tractor changed quite a bit. They went to the bar tires like this. This was the original bar tire they used on the Gen 1 tractors, or turfs. They use the same turf tire. So they went to that style bar tire, but the same size, same front axle again on these.